Good evening, everyone. If you are tuning in from the West Coast, we are prime time. If you are on the East Coast, we are late night. And if you are in Europe, it is way past your bedtime. But wherever you are, thank you very much for joining us here at MAGWest. My name is Antonio. I will be your moderator and participant as well for the next half hour or so, where myself and the panel will be talking about part-time game development, burning the midnight oil, and just giving you a glimpse into the wonders and the perils of part-time game development. So let's just go around the panel and introduce ourselves. I'll start. My name is Antonio. I hail from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I am the founder of Mega Power Games Incorporated, currently working on Deep Power Ball, which you can find in the indie section of the MAGWest Indie Showcase. Next up, Jordan, go ahead.
I'm Jordan, originally from California, moved out to Michigan about 6 years ago. Kind of a part-time developer, mostly pixel artist for different random projects, mostly my roommate Programmancer, who's also on the panel. And yeah, I do game development in my free time.
Right on. Right on. Programmancer, you're up, bud.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Travis. I go by Programmancer. I'm also from Michigan. I've been technically developing full-time for about 2 years now, but I was part-time before that.
Hey, that's what we're here to talk about. So you got a little bit of taste of Canadiana and Americana, and hopefully we will be entertaining you for the next half hour. So we're just going to jump right into it. And I'll actually start with both of you, whichever one of you wants to go first. Talk about when you started, why you got started doing part-time game dev work. Talk about your motivations.
Ooh,
whichever one of you wants to go.
Travis, you go first.
I'll go first. So I started, 2003. I was just about an adult, and I knew I wanted to do it, but I also knew that it was going to take a lot of time and work, and I couldn't do it full-time right away. So then I started doing a bunch of crappy jobs and just programming on the side. So I'd get home from work and continue programming.
Right.
I did that for like about almost 20 years now. So
what were some of the, can you give us a list of some of the jobs that you were working at? You don't have to go too much into detail, but maybe just like an abridged list if there was more than one.
Okay, so first ever job I had was making municipality software for the Department of Public Works, which is great. I had just turned 18. I was doing that. I was making $9 an hour, in case anybody wants to know how much you make doing that when you're, fresh out of high school. And then hotel work, because it was super easy to just program while I was at work.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Jordan.
I originally started hobby development summer of '99. Just 1 year. I was like, hey, I throw it into Google Game Maker, and then Game Maker 3.0 popped up, and I started doing that. Didn't really get serious about it until probably around the same time as Travis, like 2003, 2004.
Yeah. Was that around the time that both of you linked up, or was it? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. The good old Zelda fan game central days.
Nice. Fan game. We might talk about that later if we have some time. Awesome. Yeah, for me, it started way later than both of you. I didn't know you guys started that early. For me, I took a single video game development course in university in around 2011. And then for the next about 5 or 6 years, I was basically doing game jams with my boy Fabio, if he's watching in the chat. What up, man? Where we basically just made a bunch of ridiculous prototypes at a bunch of weird locations around the greater Toronto area. And it wasn't until 2018 where I worked at Toe Jam, shout outs to Toe Jam, did a prototype there that I thought had some commercial potential. Took it on the road to Ottawa the next month to demo it, and have been working on the game part-time since. And my full-time job during the day is a manager of development at one of the larger Toronto media newspapers. And I'll let you guess which one, or you can find my LinkedIn and figure it out from there, I guess. Yeah, so that's those are our origin stories, our abridged origin stories. And also to everyone who's watching, feel free to pop in questions in the chat at any time during the stream. If it's relevant to what we're talking about, we'll answer it right away. If not, we'll allot some time at the end of the stream to answer any questions that you folks have. So feel free if you have any. I want to move right along to one of the biggest concerns that people have when they're starting out making games, and that is, straight up supporting yourself financially and otherwise. So Jordan, Travis, why don't you harken back to your job days and talk about like, what were you doing to support yourself, and how much of what you were doing from your job was actually funding funding your development work? It's real open-ended question there. So
Travis, you want to go first?
Whichever.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties.
Uh-oh.
So pretty much 100% of my job funded game development as well as living expenses.
Yeah.
I always consider myself a $0 budget dev because, I mean, it's my own time. It's my hours that I have in my spare time that I that I use to develop in. So it's like anytime I'd have to go to a convention, like where we met at Con Bravo, or anything like that, it has to come out of pocket.
Yeah.
You have to sacrifice bills, figure those out some other way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means picking up a lot of extra hours if you want to travel to do what you need to do. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Jordan?
For me, it was game development was always a hobby, and it was how I wound down from my 9 to 5. So I would get home, and obviously, like 9 to 5 pays the bills, and then that's just how I would wind down every evening. Just program till the wee hours of the morning and get ready to do it all the next day.
And if you folks, if you follow either one of these two on Twitter, which I highly recommend, by the way, when we talk wee hours of the morning, we are talking wee hours, like 2-3 a.m.
even later, sometimes
even later sometimes. And so I wondered to myself, how the heck are you guys doing it? How do you keep that energy there? But
sometimes you get in like a creative mode and you just have to keep making something. So it's like, you get 16 hours of awake time normally. If you're a normal human being who wants to stay up for 16 hours, but that just doesn't wait for creativity. You have to stay up sometimes for 20, 24 to get what you want done.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you have a nice day and a half long nap.
Exactly.
Hey, I mean, you got to do what works for you, right? So if that's what works for you and you get into that creative mode, there's, you shouldn't need to question yourself there in terms of what you're doing, especially if you feel, if you still feel good after you do it, right? You can keep it up. For me, I don't have the stamina to go that far. For me, it was, up until recently, and we'll talk about recent developments in a bit, but up until fairly recently, it was the same thing. I had a 9-to-5 job. It was steady. I'm living in one of the more expensive cities in Canada. So the bills to pay are a lot more expensive in Toronto than in, Brighton. If anyone's from Brighton in the chat, shout outs to Brighton. Woo. So, it required me to really take stock in terms of making sure that I had a comfortable living situation. I had, I was happy with my current situation. I had the energy to get up the next day to do my regular full-time job because a significant chunk of that money was going into the game development. How many hours a week did you guys think, in those early days, were you working part-time versus full-time? Just give me like a ballpark. It was like for me, I'm pretty sure I didn't go more than like 12-15 hours extra a week.
So I used to work 2 back-to-back shifts every weekend. So 16-hour shift on Friday, 16-hour shift on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I would do that every week and I would have the entire week off.
Jeez.
And so I used that time to basically hone some skills and get better at game dev. But later on, I bumped up to management and stopped doing that shift, but they would still occasionally have me on weekends for like, I had a 20-hour day once on a Friday. And then I had to go back and do it on a Saturday and then back again on a Sunday and then work all week. So COVID is probably the best thing that ever happened to my job in game development because I got to stay home and work on stuff.
You know what? I'll say this, like for all the pain that COVID has caused in the world, it probably was the best thing that happened to me too. and probably for a lot of people who are doing hobbyist game development, and basically, if they ever commuted back and forth anywhere, that commute was essentially cut out if you're able to work remotely.
It forced creatives to get like not serious about it. I mean, they were already serious about it, but it gave them an opportunity to just really look at it and realize, hey, I can do this and I can make a living off of it. So
I am not saying that we should get into a freaking pandemic, every chance.
No,
I think I speak for everyone by saying we all want out of this as soon as we can, so we can
COVID is not good, chat. Just let
it is not good, chat.
For God's sake.
Also, hilariously, Nightbot shouting out the Twitch channel Brighton. I just love technology and how bots work. So this is great. Never seen the channel before. I don't even know if Brighton is even active. Exactly. A few times you've stopped yourself from saying thanks to COVID, which is exactly the thing there.
Yeah, honestly, losing my job was like the best thing ever.
Oh man. Again, just COVID is bad. COVID bad. Social life.
Having free time good.
Having free time good and not worrying.
Being inspired to monetize your hobbies good.
Yes. Crippling anxiety bad. The vaccine good. See,
vaccine very good.
Now this is spiraling. Yeah, but sometimes though, I get it.
All right, I said the magical C word.
I know. All right. Let's talk methodology. Let's talk tools. Let's talk about what we're using here. Because every game developer has their tool set, has their way of doing things. Again, for me, back in 2011, for those who use Unity, I was working with Unity since version 1.5, which gives an indicator as to how old I am. Worked with Unity 1.5 all the way up to here. A lot of the funding that I was able to grab for my full-time job, I outsourced art, I outsourced music. Even though I am producing my game that I'm working on and mostly spearheading this thing, I am not alone. I have about 5 or 6 others who are helping with music, animation. If you have the money and you're doing this part-time, it is 100% worth it to outsource that to anyone who can help you, whether that funding comes from yourself or external sources. But we'll get into that a little bit later for me. What about you two? What are your tools of the trade?
So I try to do everything myself, but it's because I'm a super loner. I always send Jordan stuff or have him make something, because I don't consider myself a pixel artist. I don't consider myself a musician, but I use development as a means to learn and get better.
Yep.
But also it's very beneficial when, for example, you need to release something for sale so you can earn a living off of it and fund development of the things you really want to work on.
Yeah.
When you don't have a huge crew to pay.
Precisely.
Because you're doing it yourself. But that's not, it sucks because it's a lot of time and effort. And it's a lot of time spent doing things that you might not necessarily want to do.
Yep.
But I think in the long run, depending on how you approach it, depending on how you want to develop your games, either thing works, either hiring whoever you need, which can take a lot of that burden off, or doing it yourself. But I don't always suggest doing it yourself because it's a lot of work.
Yes.
I learned that the hard way early on. What were you saying, Jordan?
Oh, it's what I was just reiterating what Travis was saying, or agreeing, because it's tough.
Yeah, it is. And you're on this path, you're starting off this path by yourself, especially if you're new in the industry and don't know anyone. It's hard. It really is. And so, I really I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, because for all the hardships that we've suffered, so to speak, over the early stages of it, there are potential rewards at the end. For me, it was actually during COVID that I saw a lot of these, rewards start to take shape. For those who live in Ontario, Canada, there is a lot of external funding that you can apply for. And I was lucky enough to get government funding to build out the alpha stage of Depowerball in 2020. And that was a huge relief for me in two aspects. One, because I got funding that, would reimburse me for all the money that I put in so far, but also two, validation that the concept that I'm working on, people believe in it. And that was even more important to me than actually, getting the funding, so to speak. I know that, and so that sort of, and since then, and I actually put the Powerball in the Steam Game Festival last year. It really, again, COVID gave me the opportunity to really step back and say to myself, well, I really have to learn how to online program now, how to make online multiplayer games. And I've been pretty much working on that aspect of the Powerball nonstop since last year, with whatever time I could find. Life getting in the way, be damned. But if you go on Steam now, you can actually play online, and that's something I'm extremely proud of. And with you two, I mean, I'll let you talk about what's been happening in the last 1 or 2 years.
Well,
Wow.
I think I've probably released the most amount of games that I've ever released. Not so much jam games, but there's a Michigan group that I like to make bundle games for, and they usually have about a month or two dev time. And so I think I've done 3 of those. Yeah. And one of them, Dumpy and Bumpy, is coming out on Switch within the next couple of months. I don't have a specific date yet, but it's coming. So
that's right. That's right. And congratulations again, even though I've said congratulations to you many times, you can't say congratulations enough, because, coming from a part-time development aspect to get a game published on the Switch, I mean, it just shows that, it's a case of if you grind hard enough, you can get to that stage.
It's crazy knowing that 2 years ago I had no idea that I would have a game coming out on a console, and now it's like I've had the time to do it. And
for sure,
it happened, so it feels great.
Yeah, and I know Jordan was helping you with certain aspects of that game as well. What about you?
Even though he'll deny it, he will deny it. He did a lot of work in that.
But I know
where am I right now?
And what about you, Jordan? Where last 2 years in terms of where you're at right now?
I don't want to keep saying that COVID was a good thing, but ever since I got fired, I've been able to actually prototype, which is like where I enjoy programming more, like game development. I like making stuff that like I can ship off to a program and be like, hey, make this work like that, and then they do, but not messy.
Yeah.
So being able to do that has been really nice.
That's good.
You programmed your avatar also.
Oh yeah, my little avatar.
I mean, you did program it. I mean, you could show some tricks off while
I can make
while I'm scrolling down to there. Look at that. So yeah, I don't have the wherewithal or the skill to do it. I love, you diverge into COVID and the chat just goes off.
COVID's not good, chat.
It's not good. It's not good at all.
It's actually horrible.
Again, we're 20 minutes in. We're going to keep talking, but again, if you have any questions about, what we've discussed so far, or anything else in general that you want to get to know about us or about the industry, with what little knowledge we have, by all means, feel free to drop it in the chat. Always happy to answer. Where do you want to go from here, fellas? I mean, now we're sort of in the great beyond.
Actually, possibly talking about like publishers.
Let's talk about publishers, because I know one of us has some experience with publishers.
Minimally, yes. It might be me, but
might be. I'm not saying it is, but it might be.
But I will say, in all of the years that I've been making games, having a publisher has been the scariest thing to me, because I've not had to be responsible to anybody except myself in this entire time. Yeah. And then having responsibility like that to other people is a little daunting, but it's a lot of help.
What sort of help are you getting that you really thought to yourself, oh, wow, I can't believe that, this took a load off?
Oh God, marketing. That was a big thing. Handling all the internal stuff with the console developer portals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge time sink just taken care of, which is wonderful. Screenwave's been great getting Dumpy and Bumpy ready, even though it's like it was done before they signed on, but we've made it. We've taken it from like what I thought was a 8, 9 out of 10. They've brought it up to like 15 to 20. So
wow, that's amazing, and that's incredible. Like to know that you have the, to have that support. It's huge.
Yeah, definitely. I never thought that the game would be localized into 20 different languages, but it's like,
is it 20 now? Wow.
20, yeah. We just added another language, so it's like it's getting a worldwide release, which I'm really happy about.
That's awesome.
But this is stuff that like you just don't have done solo. So I think publishers, it's really daunting, but it's good to do your research on them and make sure that they're gonna service your game in a good way, and that's definitely happened with this. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the other side of the coin there, because I also had considered approaching publishers, because I still had my job. I didn't want to necessarily be beholden to those deadlines, so to speak, because at that point I realized, if I were to do that, I'd probably burn myself out. That doesn't necessarily mean I still can't look for help elsewhere, especially if I have the funding to do it. So like when the Powerball is going to be ready for release, I've already, I applied to ID at Xbox, got in. So it's going to be a PC Xbox release at minimum. And then I'm basically going to be contacting agencies to just help me with some of the finer aspects, like the marketing, like the PR. So it won't be a publisher directly, but it'll be an agency that specializes in doing that. So that's another approach that you can take, especially if you have the funds to do it. It's just another avenue that you can take. And then there's also guerrilla marketing, just making repeated posts on social media, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok.
Like Minecraft was the biggest testament to that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're able to catch fire in any, subreddit or any YouTube channel or any tweet that goes viral, that also helps. Not saying it's a silver bullet, so to speak, but it helps with the exposure if you could do it, but you have to know what you're doing. I definitely don't. I don't, and it's a journey that I navigate through as I'm looking to release my stuff, and as you guys are looking to release your stuff too, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things, though, is no matter how much you want to do yourself, it's not possible to do everything yourself.
Absolutely not. If you think you can do everything yourself, then you must you're either
spending a lot of time.
Yeah, you're either delusional or you are spending a lot of time doing everything.
Mad respect
if you can, and there's what's up, fellow game devs in the chat? That's right. Let's go. Any standout experiences over the last few years? Like, pick one. I don't know.
I mean, just I don't know. Like, all the success Travis has had has been super inspiring, because like I think back to when I first moved here and he was doing game jams. He's like, man, these games aren't that good. And then like he was winning.
They still aren't good.
The competitions. I'm just like, dude, your games are all like have always been an inspiration and like super amazing.
What's your favorite game jam prototype
of yours?
Yeah, no, we question from the chat. Favorite jam prototype?
Oh,
and it doesn't have to be one you're currently working on, but it could be just another one that you did. That
I have like 5 pet projects. The one that I'm probably the most hyped to continue working on is a game. It's a tribute to this old 3D game called Catacomb 3D, and it's called Knee Deep in the Dungeon. And I'm just like completely aping on the style to the point where like people are like, hey, is this a catacomb? Is this a catacomb expansion?
Yeah.
But that's
Travis?
probably
that's what I'm excited for too. Actually, I think my favorite jam game that I've worked on was Derelict, which had catastrophic failure, and I learned to back things up. Always back everything up. Always.
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah. I mean, technically speaking, the Powerball is my favorite since I've been working on it, but I'll shout out a couple others. I worked at Toe Jam recently. Actually, you know what? One of my favorite prototypes actually was one I worked on with the two of yous.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So last year, I actually did a jam with Jordan and Travis, and my buddy, and it was a strategy game that you could play as a Twitch streamer that you could play against your stream. So as the Twitch streamer, you could just WASD around the screen, mine stuff, hit stuff, fight stuff. And then as the streamer, you would type in chat certain commands like, at, exclamation mark play or exclamation mark mine. I'm actually doing it right now in chat. And we called it Real Twitch Strategy. And it was a concept that had no business. The prototype had no business being as good as it was. I had a lot of fun with that. And how responsive the commands were and your animations brought it to life.
It's a nice concept too. I like the idea of having
neat.
chat work on, like chat can join in and do stuff, and that's
yeah, cool. RTS baby. It was clever. And I still have the prototype code sitting around somewhere. Once the Powerball sort of slowly drifts off into the sunset, I might consider revisiting that. But
I'm always down to do art.
Yeah, for sure. We're approaching the end. I'll do a last call for any final questions for folks while we stall for time. I guess while we stall for time, if there's any other final questions, let's chill a little bit. What are you working on now? Where can people find you?
Travis.
Well. I'm working on the Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest, which is a style parody of various NES games I like, plus an obvious inspiration. And that's been my flagship project for about 2 years now. I also have Dumpy and Bumpy coming out on Switch here within the next couple of months. And it's also on Steam currently. If anybody wants to check it out, there's a free demo on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Jordan?
I am currently in the middle of projects. I do art on and off for Travis, and then I mess around with my pet projects I was talking about. I have a game out on Steam. It's now approaching 10 years old. So, I mean, if you want to check out Zombie Grinder on Steam, you're welcome to. I don't know how supported it is because I haven't talked to my developer in like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But right. It's out there if you want to play it.
And I've already said this, Powerball, we're part of the Indie Showcase. The link is posted above by Nani the Pup. Thank you for posting that. We're doing a live play test all 3 days during MAGWest, so you can go check that out. All right, one final question. Did you ever have second thoughts about making games? If so, what was the defining moment that made the doubt go away? I can quickly answer this. Second thoughts, absolutely. When I made the Powerball prototype, I didn't know if people would like it. As soon as I took it on the road to Ottawa for that very first convention and seeing the smile on that very first person's face that was playing it, I was hooked and kept getting subsequent reactions after that. So.
Second thoughts from me. Yes, when funds had dried up and I was unable to basically live off of it, but you have to accept that you have to make things to sell as well if you want to continue working on your passion projects. So second thoughts, yes, but that's, you move past that.
And Jordan,
for me, it was when I got a big promotion, and then after about working in management for 2 years, I'm like, man, I miss making games, and I moved to where I could make games again.
That's awesome. All right, and with that, folks, wherever you're tuning in, thank you very much for joining us. For Travis and Jordan, I'm Antonio. Check us out on Twitter. The links are below. I'm at megapower_games. Jordan is at Jordizzle, and Travis is at Programmancer. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you around.
Goodbye, y'all.
Thanks for having us.